You look at Athing and you look at Coleman, they're dogs. We know they're certified dogs. I pray for the people who have to go against them for the rest of the season because now they're taking names and they're taking heads. Oh, Kishane?
Kishane, yeah.
The fact that he started the prelims off with a 982, then dropped down to and ran a 984, and then backed it up with a 977. I'm going to say he is a bona fide threat for the Olympic gold.
And as good as Coleman is in his start, I think Justin actually has the best recorded 10 meter that Ralph ever did.
I do, yeah.
Interesting enough.
I think that I can go out there now and still break 10 seconds, but I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to be so sore and broke down afterwards. I think I could run you a good 9.9, 9.94, something like that. As athletes are getting ready, and you know how we are. We're envisioning down the track, and then you'll see me walking back to you. So as you get ready, get in blocks, I'm the last thing you think about. And then I get in the blocks.
Welcome back to another episode of the Track World News Podcast. My name's Colin Waitsman, your host with our esteemed co-host, Mr. Noah Williams. Noah, how you doing today, man?
What's going on, my boy? Man, I'm feeling good, bro. I can't complain. The energy's good over here. How you feeling today?
Vibes are high. Temperatures are higher. Like, bro, this heat wave is killing me right now. It's been like 95 plus every day. It's nuts. How's it down? You're in the South, so that it's got to be even crazier down there. How you been feeling, man?
It's in the oven, bro. It's like you just kind of have to accept it. Like white tee, short shorts, no socks, no lotion, just out there, bro, in the oven.
That's crazy. No socks, no lotion. Them shoes gonna be stanking, bro.
Hey, that's what we got slides for, brother.
There we go. It's nuts. It's been like 95 plus every single day here. Not loving it, but you know, it is what it is. It'll be all right. That just means we're in the heat of track season. So good stuff. So coming in here, we're going to be having another co-host joining us for today's episode, a guest appearance. You probably saw it in the title. Mr. Justin Gatlin going to be coming in here in the next couple minutes, probably 10, 15 minutes or so. He'll be joining here, so we'll add him into the view. Obviously, you know who he is, gold medalist in the 100 meters, second fastest time in the U.S., top 5 in the world, has his own podcast, Ready, Set, Go. We'll talk about all of that great stuff when he joins in the next few minutes. But before we go into that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the podcast with a friend. Been loving the love. Last episode had the most viewer every week. It's been more people coming on in, watching the show. So it's glad to see you all are enjoying it. Yeah, but anything things that you wanted to get started on here with though, man?
Yeah, man. I mean, shoot, but I do appreciate the love that we've been getting on the pod. I've been reading through the comments and stuff like that. I really appreciate everybody's insight, whether you agree with us or not. It's a lot of cool stuff going on. So I love the community that's building. But you know, to start the episode, you know, we had the premiere of Sprint, the Netflix original series covering a few of our star athletes, and you know, it's out now and. Let's just get into it, man. Like, what did you think? You know, what are some of the highlights of the show, lowlights of the show, something that you took note of, man? What did you think about it?
Yeah, dude, I liked it a lot. I'll go over the things that I liked and I'll go over things that I didn't like. But I thought it was a net, I think it's a net positive. Like it's an overall good thing that we had. The thing I'm not surprised about that I did like. I like the insight that they've had. They talk about the Jamaican women a lot and getting into Elaine Thompson Hurrah's departure from MVP. They talk about that a little bit. They go over a little bit of Noah and Fred's kind of, you know, how they're very different people. They talk about that a little bit, which was really cool. As well as they don't gloss over some of the difficulties that Marcel Jacobs had with his injuries. They dive right into it. They're like, dude, you don't line up on the track. Like, what's going on here? They also talk a little bit about Zarnell Hughes with his false starts and just how he had consistently false started, across the last few seasons, and they dive into those. And so a lot of those questions and things that you're looking for, they cover. And while as an avid track fan, I know how the story like paints out. For anyone that hasn't watched this, I mean, spoiler alert, but I mean, you all are track fans, so you know how these stories go. But in the documentary on episode 5 is the best episode, by the way. Like, if you can only watch one episode, watch episode 5. It is the best one that they have. But they're like painting and they're saying how Shericka Jackson, and they're doing a lot of comparisons with like FloJo's world record in the 200 meters. Like, is she gonna get it? And like they're even like doing like changing the image where it's like FloJo over Shericka, like go. And like you would think, oh, she's gonna break it, but like as a track fan, I know she doesn't break it, but like they're making it seem like it is, which is like, it's interesting being on the other side of it. It's good though. I would say here, this is going to be my rating system. We'll call it like 4 laps. Like if it's a 4 lap show, then it's that's the best one. If it's 1 lap, then it's bad. So it's like a mile, as if it's a mile. I'd say this is like, it's like 3.5 laps. 3.5 laps, about almost a 1500, almost there. It's really good. There were some things that I would have liked to see a little bit more of. I'll get into that. I know that you're still finishing it up, but what were some of the things that you liked? I mean, you were a part, like, while we don't get to see your training group in there, they did do some recording at your area. But what were your kind of thoughts, as you're getting started on this?
Yeah. I mean, I think like you said, it's a net positive for the sport. And I think more than anything, it's highlighting the fact that these people are humans, right? Like, we're getting a little bit of a different perspective. We were able to see Noah in the house. We were able to see Marcel around his loved ones, like it's giving it's breaking down that fourth wall, and it's giving us another perspective on these athletes. And the way that Netflix wants to spin it or like create their narratives is fine. But I think it's great that we get an opportunity to connect with these athletes in a way that we weren't. And like, the last time I checked, it's number 4 on Netflix. Like, it's the number 4 most trending show on Netflix. So if you're around our sport and you follow our sport, 9 times out of 10, you believe that we don't get enough coverage and we don't get enough love and we don't get enough attention. So for Netflix to highlight some of the biggest stars in the sport, it's only going to funnel, more attention to the sport come Olympics, and hopefully it lasts after. Hopefully they can do another series, like a season 2, like they did with like quarterback or wide receiver, like the NFL, kind of similar thing they did there. So overall, man, it's great for the sport. And I was looking for my cameo. So they came to our track and they filmed a bunch of content, a bunch of footage of us on the track, like tons of cameras. And obviously Noah was like the focus of it. And they pulled us aside and like had to sign waivers and stuff. So I was like, okay, like maybe I'll be in there. Like, my hair's braided, so I'll probably look good, whatever. But nah, man, it's a dope show. I'm happy for the sport because of it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was really well done, and yeah, they're filming season 2 already, which is great. I guess they're going to be covering the like going through the Olympics and everything like that. The episode that I am most excited for, because I was there, is the NYC Grand Prix, because they had all their cameras there with Fred Curley, Noah Lyles, all of that. And obviously there was a lot that happened in that episode with at that meet, with Elaine Thompson-Herah going down, Fred Curley, his things with his sponsorship and everything. So I was making sure I was front row for all of the interviews when we're doing the post-race interviews for Noah and Fred. I was like, no, I got to get on here. I was trying to think of like, let me get some spicy question. I got to get something. I want them to use one of my things. Let me try. So we'll see, but I'm sure that episode is going to be great. They were filming. I'm in the background of a couple of those things. So yeah, it's that's going to be a good one. But yeah, like I thought it's a net positive. It's really great. Some areas that I would like to see some changes or things. Now, they're people, but I'm going to call them like characters, because like it's characters in a movie, but athletes. Noah is by far the best like character in the movie, or the most engaging in the documentary. Like, he's, as he mentions it, like he's like a showman. Like he's going through, he's saying the one-liners, the hot takes, that's what everyone says before they get beat. And so it's like there's a lot of things when they're going through and like having and like talking to him. And like in episode 5, you really get a good kind of juxtaposition where they'll flash with Noah Lyles, and then they'll go into Fred Curley and how they're just very different people. But like, Zarnell Hughes doesn't have much. They talk about stuff, but there's not much like, they're not building up that rivalry where like Noah's like, nah, I'm trying to build up. He's like, no, I'm trying to beat everyone. Like, oh, he had a world lead. Great. That's just another person I'm going to beat. I'm like, yeah, like that's a good way to add to the storyline versus others are like, yeah, I'm just trying to focus on my own race and see how we do. It's like, nah, we got Netflix is in front of you and we just going to talk about, yeah, it was a good race. I'm hoping that we do better. Like, nah, like let's see some stuff going on. Like that would have been really cool to get some more of, but it was still overall I'd say a good show and one that I was definitely looking forward to for sure, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like we always gonna have our gripes or things that we want, things that we would desire, but overall we got a W for the sport, so
it was positive. Yeah. There's obviously there's some criticism, there's stuff like that, but like I'd look at it like because how we were talking earlier with like our podcast and stuff. It's like, yeah, I think we were texting over the weekend. It's like, yeah, you gonna get like if you don't have people that are disliking you, then you're not doing something right. Like if you have people that are disliking your stuff, then you're doing something right. Because I did another episode that I filmed with what's it called? Productions. Why am I talking the name? Total Running Productions. Yeah. Like a bonus type thing with him. And he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, like you're popping when you start having some haters and stuff. So it's like you're number 4 in Netflix. Of course, you're gonna have some people that don't like what you're talking about. So no, they did well there, man. They did well
for sure.
Yeah, hopefully when they start filming the next one, make sure you get your braids done again, and maybe they'll actually put the thing in there for the episode. So no, that's good. That's good. So I'm sure it'll be over the Olympics or whatever it is, but that'll be nice. That'll be nice. Awesome. So we want to go back real quick. Just take a look at some of our prediction stuff from the Olympics. So Olympic trials, we didn't do too hot with our predictions. Some events that I was just going back, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, all right, how did we actually do? I know this wasn't scheduled for our one thing that we were going to talk about, but I was thinking about. I was like, we got to bring it up. Got to bring it up. So I got what we have right here. Some of our predictions. So people were right. The 100 though, we got the winners. We're good with Sha'Carri, but then nothing else outside of that. So every other one outside of Sha'Carri winning for the women's 100, wrong. The 200, we both got Gabby. That was right. And then I got Mackenzie. And then that was it. No one else. 400, you got Alexis Holmes. That's it. Nothing else. Didn't look too hot. Grace Stark and Lele John. I got Grace Stark, and you had Lele Johnson. So there's 2. Nothing else right. Sydney McLaughlin, we both got that right, and Anna Cockrell. That was good. And so overall, for the women, not a great showing for our predictions. Take a look at the men. Men, you got Noah Lyles, and Kenny right. I got just Noah Lyles, not in the right position. 200, you got it right exactly down to the exact position with Ariane Knighton coming in 3rd. Good for you there. 400 meters, Michael Norman. I think Chris Bailey was the other guy that was in there, right? Yeah. Chris Bailey. So we got two of them in there. 110 hurdles, Grant Holloway, Daniel Roberts for you. So you got 2 out of there. For the 400 hurdles, Rye Benjamin, Trevor Bassett, and then you also got CJ Allen, but we both had Caleb who had fell. So a little bit better there. But overall, not the best showing. I'll be honest with you. Not the best. Hopefully our Olympics will be better. But did you saw the DraftKings came out with their bets for the 100? What are your thoughts there? So for those that don't know, I'll go over like what DraftKings is and all of that and get into it. But DraftKings sports betting app, they do the Olympics and the World Championships as well as like Diamond League races. So like big ones that they'll allow people to like actually, bet on and bet money on. They came out with their lines for the 100. So now these have moved since then, but we'll get into it. Oh, perfect. Before we do, we have our guest that is joining us now. He has arrived, Mr. Justin Gatlin Olympic champion in the 100 meters, fifth fastest time ever, and the host of the Ready, Set, Go podcast, Mr. Gatlin. How you doing today, man?
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me, Colin, man. I know we talked a lot over the past. Finally able to come onto the show, man. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for coming. It sounds like you guys got some crazy weather over there.
Man,
how's it going, man?
Man, I'm in Houston, man. We're getting ready for this storm, man. So it's getting a little crazy. I'm from Florida, so everyone knows that I'm used to storms. So I'm in a different place, so it's a lot more flooding. It's tornadoes. Houston's crazy. Texas is crazy, but I love it, man. What's up, Noah? What's going on, man?
Feeling good, man. Blessed and highly favored, man. Good to have you on the show. I appreciate it, man. It's cool. It's cool to see you on here.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me too, man, for sure.
And I'm down here in Austin right now. We hit that storm hit us yesterday, man. It was crazy.
Oh, see, man, you passed it over to me.
Yeah, for real though, something like that.
There you go. Well, perfect timing. We're actually just getting into how DraftKings, they came out with their 100-meter predictions for or their betting lines for the 100 meters. Obviously, Noah Lyles, they have as the favorite for the 100 to win there. Sha'Carri Richardson as the favorite. Some notable numbers. They had Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce as fifth place, coming in there. They're betting up against the Jamaicans, but it's really early. There's still some track meets that are going to be going in and happening in between today and obviously in the Olympics, which is crazy. In 3 weeks, I guess we may see one or two of them competing. But what are you looking forward to with, like, if you've been here before, you've been in going from the trials to the Olympics, these next couple weeks, what do these mean for these athletes as they're getting ready for the Olympic Games? What is it that you're actually trying to do in these next 3 weeks to get ready to execute at the Olympic Games?
Well, I think that this generation of athletes are smarter than my generation, right? So, for us to show dominance, we had to show it from the beginning of the season all the way up through Olympic trials, all the way to the Olympic finals, right? So we had to have a long stretch of dominance and stay in shape and stay peaked for a very long time. Now you have athletes like Shelly-Ann who has understood and cracked the code and says, okay, I just need to make the team. Put the ego to the side. Let's just make the team and see exactly where we're at. She has a couple more meets probably to come up before the Olympics comes up. And now she'll be back into that 10-8, 10-7 shape. And we all know what it looks like in the finals. Usually everyone doesn't run their PR in the finals. We hope that they do, but sometimes they don't. It comes down to attrition. So it may take a 1079. It may take a 1082 to win the finals. We don't know just yet. But the fact is to be ready on that day. And I think a lot of these young athletes are starting to take that same route where it's like, okay, I don't have to be ready, 100% ready. I just need to be ready enough to make the Olympic team and then prepare myself in a little smaller condensed season and then get ready for the Olympics.
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be hard. I mean, take it back to when you were an athlete. You said they're a little bit smarter than when you guys were going around. Like, you think it would have been easy for you to put that ego to the side of like, no, I'm not going to do all these races, win all these things, and then going into it? Or how would have that been if, growing up in this more generation where people are taking maybe less races than when you guys were?
If you're asking Justin of old, I would have said absolutely not. I could not put the ego to the side. So, but now the fact of no one is looking at what you did in March or April or even June. By the time the Olympics come up, we're looking to see what you're going to do now. Once you put that gold around your neck, no one's saying, oh man, he had a sucky season leading up. Remember my Olympic campaign, I won no races up to the Olympic finals. That was my first race I won of all season. So it's just about seizing the moment and striking at the right time.
What was that meant? I mean, you mentioned didn't get any wins until the Olympic final there. I mean, what was the vibes like for you? Were you coming in like, dang, I haven't won anything yet? Or did that just not even play a factor in your mind as you were lining up onto that final stage?
Yeah, it did. I mean, Maurice Green and Asafa Powell stole the show. They were running around Crystal Palace, Ostrava, everywhere, and they were just going 1 and 2, battling it out. So the world, like how DraftKings is doing right now, they were focused on them. They were focused on the fact that Asafa was going to win. So his numbers were his bets were edged towards him. And then obviously Maurice Green was going to be second. And then Sean Crawford was the dark horse, right? So it didn't play out that way, obviously. But the fact is, when you're looking at the bigger picture, everyone's focused on the trajectory of people and then not realizing, all right, this person has a pedigree. This person can lead you to that point. And that's why when you see athletes like Shelly Ann or Sharika, right, they're winding themselves up for that moment, right? But you can't count out the people like a Sha'Carri who understood and tastes gold last year from a place where in lane 9, you're counted out. That tells you right there that you're counted out. And she's able to do that. So now with her having a better lane selection and being the one who is poised to win in a lot of people's eyes, air quoting, it's a fact of now it's for Sha'Carri to have that focus in that center lane. That center lane sometimes has a lot more pressure than it is in lane 9 for a lot of people. So don't count anybody out going into the finals. If they're in lane 8, lane 9, lane 1, lane 2, it's a fact of when that gun goes off, that moment is there for everybody.
Yeah.
To refer back though to that season you had in 16, right? So you didn't win anything prior to this meet. And I think a lot of times with this sport in particular, it's very mental and it's very based on confidence, right? Like I think a lot of times our confidence comes from the work that we put in and the results that we see in like a rather recent time period. So can you think back on like your confidence level? Was anything wavering around that time? Because you went and won gold like at the biggest meet in the world over a 4-year span.
Yeah.
So your confidence has to be on point. Like where was your headspace at around that time?
I think there was a point where I got to Berlin and my confidence dropped. I'm like, bro, I got 5th place. And I can't remember the last time I even got 5th place in any race. So I remember sitting in the tub in Berlin in the hotel, and the shower was on, and the shower just running on me, and I'm just sitting about in the tub like, golly, man, maybe this isn't for me, right? And I had to pick myself up, get myself together, and realize like I'm still learning the process. This is my rookie year. I'm still learning the process of how to travel, how to eat foreign foods, how to be able to compete, jet lag, everything. So I took that into consideration leading up into the Olympics. Like, hey, man, stop putting that pressure on yourself and just go out there and compete at a level you know you could compete at. If you think you're one of the fastest in the world, get to that line and prove it. That's all we need to see. Get to that line and prove it. Before then, I think that before Berlin, I felt like I was still trying to learn myself, and I still love competition. So even if I lost a race, it excited me because I want to figure out how I lost, and I want to figure out how that person won and how I can be able to get better and how I can be able to beat them. So I kind of dived into that rabbit hole of like, all right, how can I get better? But I kept taking loss after loss after loss. And I was like, man, all right, what are we going to do now? So I had to pull myself back together.
Absolutely. All the respect to that though, because I know it's a mental challenge. Like it's almost like a you versus you. And when you bury that mental, it's like, it's tough to get out of that grave sometimes. So, all the props and respect to you for that though.
It is, man. I think, and I don't know if you guys have watched the documentary yet, Sprint, but
yeah.
It shows you, even at a high level, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of nervousness. There's a lot of uncertainty. You have to come in there with a mental game. And I've been talking about that for a long time. Have a mental game, even though you are really talented physically, practice your mental game. At practice, when you're training against and sparring against your partners, envision yourself at the Olympics. Envision yourself going out there and running rounds and getting to the finals. Because when you get out there, it's going to be a feeling that you've never felt before, especially for the rookies. And even for the vets, each Olympics is different. So you got to make sure you prepare yourself for those moments, and you try to envision yourself lined up against a Usain Bolt or Johan Blake or Tyson Gay, and then say, all right, the gun goes off, and what are you going to do in that moment? Because you can't replicate that moment in real time. You know what I mean? When it's done, it's done. So you got to be able to envision yourself in that moment and be able to seize that moment.
Yeah, I really liked in the documentary, Noah mentioned multiple times. He's like, if you don't come into this race thinking you're the fastest man in the world and you don't have that confidence, he's like, then what are you doing? Like it's like whoever's the most confident coming into it's got the edge. And even then Zarnell Hughes talked about where I think it was when he was talking to like in his segment when he was in England, he was like, yeah, someone would take a piece of track and just flick it like into another lane.
Oh,
like
Limpert would tell him, yeah, he would flick the little track piece while you're down in the set position. Yeah.
Yeah, them little mental game. Was that anything? Those mental like hurdles, those little things to get an edge. Did you have anything like that you would do, whether it's in the holding room or on the track? What did you do, Justin?
I've seen athletes intentionally kick their blocks before they get into the blocks. So it gives them another reset. So people who are focused, they got to come back out of their blocks, come stand behind the blocks again, and that individual has to reset their blocks, right? All intentional. I literally sat there and watched them go bloop and kick it, right? A game that HSI used to play was, it would be John Drummond, Otto Bolden, Maurice Green. They would find one of the three would go and start arguing with the referee. Because back then it was everyone had 3 false starts and you get 1 charge to the field. So imagine how many false starts are happening through the whole race. Everybody gets 3 false starts. 8 people get 3 false starts and 1 charge to the field. So let's say John Drummond would go out there and he'll false start on purpose. Then he'll argue with the ref. Ref, that was no false start. Come on, man, that's crazy. So while he's arguing with the ref, then those other athletes, except for HSI, are kind of like their mind is not there. They're too busy focused on the distraction, while Maurice Green and Otto Bolden are kind of refocusing themselves and getting ready because they're used to that. So a lot of strategy is played. For me, I would walk down the track before the race starts, all the way down. I would envision my race, right? How it unfold, the scenarios, the variables that happen, and I get to the finish line and say, all right, I got to get here first. I got to get to this point first. Then I would walk back. That was my strategy, because as the athletes are getting ready, and you know how we are, we're envisioning down the track, and then you'll see me walking back to you. So as you get ready, get in blocks, I'm the last thing you think about. And then I get in the blocks. And then usually what happens is you have a lot of athletes take their time and be the last person to get in the blocks and get ready. So everyone's just sitting there waiting for a very long time, or it feels like a long time.
I think it's interesting that you say that. So you obviously ran the 1 and the 2. I run the 400. So it's a little bit different, but so you get an opportunity to set your blocks, obviously, before you run. You get a little push out if you want. And I might take 1 push, but I'm going to walk like 30, 40 meters around the curve and kind of just envision what I got going on. But at the same time, I know like everybody else is kind of like, getting a rustling, bustling going on. And I'm going to be the last person back. I might just wait till the official says like, hey, lane 4, behind your blocks, please, And it's like, and even in the 4, you got an opportunity to see who's on the curve. So when I'm setting my blocks, runners to your mark, it's like I could kind of just bounce a little bit, like look up. Oh, no, they all set. Hold on, let me give myself another second. Just a little bit of an edge.
Exactly. Yeah, take control. Take control of your environment. All the athletes listening right now, if you are in the world of track and field, you are sprinting or of any other event, take control of your environment. If you can, do it, because it's always going to play in your favor.
Yeah, that's what I would do when I was in high school for varsity track running 11.0s. It was similar. I was like, my thing is I had to be the last person ready in the blocks, no matter what. So like what was difficulty was there was like other athletes that also wanted to be like the last athlete in the block. Kind of like when you're at a baseball game, they're all like singing the national anthem and they're just wondering who's going to be the last person to leave. It was like me and them. And so the official would have to be like, all right, like 5 and 6, let's go. And I'm like, all right, okay, now we gotta stop messing around. But it's like
you're over looking at each other, right? You're like, all right, you go. All right.
Yeah, it's like, nah, you ain't gonna mess me up. You ain't gonna mess me up. So nah, that's exactly. I mean, talking about that, you're talking about like the mental edge and everything. I mean, we saw this year. So this is the 3rd straight Olympics that we have a high schooler that is on the Olympic team. So we have Quincy that made it this year in the relay. Arian Knighton, while he was a pro, he still was in high school, I believe, at the time in 2021. And 2016, obviously, Sidney McLaughlin, who made it there. What do you think that those mental games and the way you're going into a race as a 16-year-old is very different, I'm sure, as when you're going into a race as a 25-year-old, 26-year-old. How do you think the mental games of when you're 16, you got summer reading that you got to do next week, you got to get ready for school. How those things coming into play?
I think that Quincy said it best. I have nothing to lose. I'm 16 years old. I'm out here at the Olympic trials. I have nothing to lose. I don't have a contract. I have no pressure on me. Guess what? I could pack up and go home tomorrow and I'll be running high school track next season. You know what I mean? He doesn't worry about getting reductions or not be able to pay bills. He has it good. I think that we're seeing now is high schoolers taking sports more serious, and then it's helping them get to that point of professionalism faster, right? Even if they don't go straight pro, now they're going into the realm of collegiate. And now on the college side, those college coaches are teaching a lot of these athletes how to run professional workouts, right? So now they're dropping professional times. They're dropping 44 fours and twos and ones and crazy times, right? But I think what I'm nervous about is the fact of, if you have high schoolers doing collegiate workouts and you have collegiates doing professional workouts, once they turn pro, what's left for them, right? So now the pressure is on these professional coaches to come up with better ways to get these athletes primed, peaked, and ready without having them plateau from workouts they've already done for almost last couple of years of their life and their career. So now it's on the professional realm to get to another level, because all those workouts are being taken and trickled down through the system. And now when we see an athlete, let's just say, God forbid, we don't want that for Quincy, but Quincy's an amazing high school athlete. Let's say he does go to college. He's going to be an amazing college athlete. Now he's going to turn pro. I mean, he's been running in the last 3 years, if you could say, in the future, he's been running 44s, 44 lows now. And as a 400 meter runner, you only have so many 400s, fast 400s in your legs too. So for me, I feel like that is an issue, because now, are you preserving the athlete so they can go on and have a long professional career? Or are we just trying to get money quick, fast, and have stardom at a young age, and then say at 25 years old, you're going to retire now,
Mm-hmm. It was like similar though. I mean, we're seeing that with the 100 meters. I mean, I know people saying like, once you start running under 10 seconds, like that puts a toll on the body. Like, you only get so many sub 10s that you're able to do. I mean, you were running in, sub 10s into what, in age 39 down in 2016? Like, how did your body feel the first time you're breaking 10 seconds versus how it felt the last time that you're breaking 10 seconds?
The first time I went, let's just say the first time I went 9.7. The first time I went 9.7, felt like I was in a car crash. My body was beat up. I was sore. Obviously I was happy, but it took a day and a half for my body to truly recover, right? To go back out and able to start doing strides again and start going back at it like 48 hours to 72 hours later. But over time, your body gets used to running that fast. It's almost like muscle memory. But as you become older, it's hard for you to recover from like injuries and just say knickknacks, or even just you've had a tough workout. You can't bounce back and just do another tough workout the next day. So you have to be able to strategize and say, okay, this is for this day. We're going to go hard. And then the next day we're going to chill. And the next day we're going to go back hard again. So you have to evolve. You know what I mean? As you become a more wise athlete, you also have to evolve your physical, because you don't want to go out there and just think that you're just a factory, just putting out times, because you're going to burn yourself out.
Mm-hmm. Did you, I'm sorry. No, you saying something?
Well, I mean, I think that's interesting with what you say. Like, the first few times where your body's getting adjusted to running those sub 10 times, it's almost like it's like a different type of toll, a different type of energy system that you're tapping into. I can kind of, relate to that in a sense, as to when my body started running different times in the 400, more elite times, let's say, and we would always fly back that same day. I've always been a hydrated person, always, my whole life. Every time I would run like a 44, or let's say split a 43, something like that, we would hop on that flight. I catch a Charlie horse like every time. For the first like 4 or 5 times. And then my body was like, okay, wait a minute. Now we know what's happening. And I saw it went away. But, it's definitely interesting when the body and the central nervous system starts to develop like a familiarity with this impact you're putting on the body.
100%. I think that I can go out there now and still break 10 seconds, but I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to be so sore and broke down afterwards. I think I could run you a good 9.9, 9.94, something like that. I can get it down there. But like I said, it's going to be what's going to happen afterwards. Like I'm going to pay for it. So
like for you, for instance, right? We're looking at forward to the Olympics, and there's a lot of different guys right now that could be a favorite. There's been a lot of fast times, like Kishane, the Jamaican, just dropped a 9.7, which is crazy. But there's been a lot of guys running 9.8s and 9.9s, right? And you, in your career, were able to run 9.7 multiple different years. I think 3 or 4 different seasons, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So was there anything that you did differently, or like any different approach that could get an athlete get an athlete from 9.9 to 9.8 to like a 9.7 or a 9.6? Because that's obviously a whole different territory. Like for somebody like Noah, we can track his 60s for the past like 6 years. And every year he's running like significantly faster in a 60.
Mm-hmm.
But his PB in the 100 has been 9.8, anywhere from like 9.83 to 9.88 over the past since 2019.
Okay, you're gonna make my coach's hat on. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I want to hear from you
right,
as somebody who's been there and done that and took it there. What is the difference?
So it is the piecing the race together, like for a 400, right? You got to piece your race together, go out there, run a good time. In the 100, because you don't have that much time to be able to kind of calculate and kind of pace yourself, you have to go through each segment and you have to be flawless and it has to be seamed together, right? So you watch someone like Coleman, his start, his drive, and his transition are damn near seamless, right? They're right. That's what you're looking for. You don't really get that from Noah. He kind of still is working to piece everything together. So he has a pretty good start. Then transition's okay. He's with the field. And then he looks to kind of like turn it on after that transition, get to his top end speed, right? So I think that if he works on piecing it all together correctly and just kind of just fly away with it and let that transition go attack into the transition, so the transition will do what it's supposed to do. It'll whip him out on the other side of the transition, and it'll give him a even faster high-end, top-end speed acceleration on the backside. So that's what it really is. It's just making everything more seamless instead of just saying start, drive, transition, top end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't think that it's a matter of these 9.8 guys, Oblique, Noah, a couple other guys. You don't think it's a matter of talent, like to get to a 9.7? You don't think it's a talent thing?
Oh yeah, I believe definitely is a talent thing. I think all of them possess the fact of doing that. It's just that when you look at their races, it's about segmented it together, like almost seamlessly. I mean, that's why you look at he's ran 6.4 indoor. He's made so much improvements in his 60 and not so much improvements in his 100. They're two different races. But if you look at his 60 meters, he had a sense of urgency to get out the blocks. He had a sense of urgency to get into his transition and powered through his transition onto the other side because the finish line was so much closer. Now he has so much more room to work with, and his strength is his top end. So he's not rushing through his transition to get to his top end. You know, so, but if he does, and he does it very well, it'll kind of give him a rubber band slingshot effect to where now he's going to separate faster. Mm-hmm. It's an aggressive race, man. Once you get to that 9.7, it's a tempo. A lot of people don't realize 100 meter has a tempo because it's so fast and so aggressive, but it's a tempo. And that's why I was able to run 9.7s, like 5 9.7s in one season, because I understood the tempo. It's almost like a hurdler or 400 meter runner. Once you get that tempo, it's almost like the other competitors realize you on that tempo. It's like, I can't even mess with you, dog. You on it. You got it. You on that tempo. Grant Holloway does it. You saw LaShawn Mary used to do it. Once you're in that tempo, it's hard to break that individual from that tempo because they understand what 43 feels like. They understand what 9.7 feels like. They understand what 12 sub 13 feels like.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so cool about the sprint, of where the races that look the easiest, they're like, oh, they weren't even pushing that hard. Like, how'd they make it look so easy? They could have gone so much harder. But it's like, nah, like when you're loose and you found the tempo, like that's when you're running the best. When you're really, gnarling through that race, it's like you're not as you're uptight. You're not going to be executing it as well. And so if people are like, oh, it looked like he wasn't even trying, be like, yeah, that's why he did so good. Because if he looked like he was trying, he probably wouldn't have ran as well. And so it's like, finding that, like that tempo, like you mentioned in the race.
It's the semis are always going to give you the best example of a good tempo race. I ran 9.82 with a elongated drive phase. I almost drove like for 45 meters and then came up and started powering through. And it felt like one of the easiest races I ever ran. But at the same time, it can be a gift and a curse, because in 2015, I ran 9.77 in my semis, and it felt very very good. I had more left in the tank. And if I ran that same comfortable but aggressive race in the finals, I would have won in 2015. You know what I mean? Hands down. Same thing with Coleman. Coleman would be on the Olympic team right now if he ran his semi race at the Olympic trials in the finals. He would have got second. So it's about being comfortable within your race pattern, but also applying the aggressiveness where it needs to be. Not straining, not trying to get it. Just let it all happen. Let it all fall into place. That's why you work every day. We're track athletes, bro. We train every day for that one moment. Your body's ready for it. Go for it. Just let it happen.
As a pro right now, so you mentioned Christian Coleman. So if you're a Christian Coleman or an Athing Mo, where unfortunately the Olympic trials don't go the way you want, but you still have like the interesting thing about track is just because the Olympics are happening doesn't mean track isn't happening. Like we just had the Paris Diamond League that happened a couple hours ago. A couple world records went down. There's going to be a couple races after the Olympics. Like there's going to be stuff still going on. And I think we heard Athing Mo mentioning that she's like, all right, I'm going to try to go for these world records now. I think that's what Otto Bolden had mentioned in the broadcast. So it's like, how do you take advantage of the season despite you have something that is pretty it's pretty catastrophic as an athlete? Like your goal is to make this Olympic team. You don't make it. How do you still make the best of this type of season despite, it not going your way in one of those bigger moments?
Put that chip on your shoulder. Now you have a reason to have the chip on your shoulder. You didn't make that team. Everyone else says you watching their belts on social media, getting that nice gear. They're excited. They're thanking all their fans for supporting them. And you were out there, upset, mad. You look at Athing and you look at Coleman, they're dogs. We know they're certified dogs. They're going to get the job done. Just unfortunate they weren't able to get it done then, right? But I pray for the people who have to go against them for the rest of the season because now they're taking names and they're taking heads. She's already talking about she wants to break the world record. You don't want to be that athlete who's being excluded now because you didn't make the team. Now you have to show the world that day was a fluke, not me. I'm going to go out there and show you that why I should be on that team. I'm going to beat every person that on that Olympic roster for Team USA and any other Olympic roster. I'm coming for them. So that's what I hope that's what you're going to see from both of them. They're going to come out like monsters and try to run the fastest times in the world. And they're going to try and say, this is your Olympic champion. I just beat him. Now you wish I was there.
Yeah, that'd be cold. Yeah, I mean, you coming out and saying like, yeah, I didn't do what I wanted to do, but that don't mean my season's over. Like, you're gonna see some crazy times from me, and like, wish I was on that team. Like, it's gonna be hopefully some pretty good chaos there. One thing you mentioned Noah earlier, so we had Kishane who dropped that 9.7. Want to talk about, is he an Olympic gold medal threat? Is he a threat to win this, in your opinion? Do you think he's got a great time, but is it something that we got to really keep an eye on? He had the second best odds, from the betting sites for everything, but what's your take on a Gatlin? On
Kishane?
Kishane, yeah.
If Kishane would have run out there and ran 10-0 in the prelims and ran 9.95 or 9.89 in the semis and then dropped to 9.77, I'd have been like, he has to strike when the moment is there for him, and hopefully the moment will be there for him in the Olympic finals. But the fact that he started the prelims off with a 9.82, then dropped down to and ran a 9.84, and then backed it up with a 9.77 while looking at the clock, I'm going to say he is a bona fide threat for the Olympic gold, for sure. And you can't count on Oblique either. I think Oblique was caught off guard because we haven't seen Kishane run this season, really. And Oblique went out there and still ran personal best. He went out there and ran 9.82. You know what I mean? So they all put together really good races throughout their prelim, semis, and finals. So that tells me that they're ready. They get almost 3 more weeks to get ready and sharpen themselves up even more. So, yeah, it's going to be a tall order for anybody that's trying to win that Olympic gold in the 100 meters. It's not going to be a cakewalk for them. Not Noah, not Taboho, not Fred, not Kishane, none of them, because now it's going to be a dogfight now. This is going to be a very entertaining 100 meters for sure.
Who do you think's going into the Olympic 100 meters feeling the best, most confident going into that race? Kishane, Noah, or someone else?
There's so many factors that go into that, man. I mean, you got to realize how special winning the 100-meter Olympics is. You know, the gold medal. You could have been to the Olympics before, right? And this moment is in front of you. The numbers add up. You could win this gold. And that moment happens, and you're like, whoa, this moment is really big. I would say Kishane has a really good shot because of his numbers, but he's never been to the Olympics. He's never been to the Olympic finals, and he's never been favored either. So that's a lot of different unique pressures that's going to be on him, right? I'll say for Noah, he has an amazing run. For the last couple of years, he's done very well. You know, he has a triple gold that's on his head right now. So when you think about someone like that with so much confidence, he's going to figure out how to get the job done. But it's about making sure you execute it in the moment. And the moment is like not just at the starting line, runners to your mark, get set. It's when the gun goes off. And then there's a moment where you come out that drive phase. And as you come out that drive phase to your transition and you start to come upright and now you start to see everyone around you, that moment of clarity happens where you're like, whoa, like either I'm in front or I'm running with the pack or I'm behind the pack. And you got to figure out what's going to happen then, right? So Mike Tyson always said, everyone has a plan that you get punched in the mouth. So it's that moment. That moment is going to be a big moment. I think who has it in their favor is the people who are the dark horses. The dark horses are the ones that don't have the pressure. The media's not on them. The public's not on them. I would say someone like Fred has a really good opportunity to just go out there and just run his race and be as aggressive as possible and win, right? So he's a guy out of all of them who's been closest other than Marcel Jacobs to winning a gold. So he knows what it feels like to be in that moment and just miss out on it. So this might be a revenge tour for Fred.
Yeah, I was saying I didn't feel good about Fred going into the trials just based on what we had seen going into it, but I feel better about him going into the Olympics, where it's like once he's made that team, I wasn't too sure because we hadn't seen what you were going to do, but now he's on it. I know what you can do at the Olympics. I know you show up there. I was just a little nervous about him getting on that team, but now he's there. It's like, nah, he's a killer. He'll figure it out. He'll get it locked in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how each of these athletes use their time wisely in the next 3.5 weeks, because that's where it's really going to matter. Like what you did at trials, amazing, awesome, but you got to do better than a 988. You got to do better than a 985 or 982, 987. Like those times will get you on the podium, but those athletes we're talking about, they're not there just to get on the podium. They're there to win. You know what I mean? So you got to do above and beyond what you've already done to get on the top of that podium.
No, you had something?
Yeah, with Fred, like obviously he's seasoned and he's been there. And Fred, as far as a mindset goes, I think he's probably the biggest wild card, like the most unpredictable athlete out of the field. And I remember we covered it when Christian beat Fred in China earlier in the season. And like we were kind of like, hey, like what does this mean? Is this like foretelling? Is this Coleman's year? Is Fred done? Like that was kind of like the discussion. And my intuition was screaming at me. I kid you not, my intuition was screaming at me like Fred's going to have the last laugh over Christian in this situation. But I'm of the mindset that Fred is kind of using that performance at the Olympic trials as like a springboard moving forward. That intuition is a strong thing, man. So, yeah. I'm not going to duck it. And I think that Fred definitely has a compelling case because he doesn't have as much pressure as a Kishane, an Oblique, or a Noah does, so.
Yeah. I think what Fred, for me, his indicator is his transition. He can have a good start, but if his transition is sluggish, then it's going to be hard for him to get to his top end speed and dominate after 45 meters, right? So if he gets out and he works on his transition now, going into the Olympics, and by the time he gets there, that'll be a really good race to watch, because I was one of the first ones who told the world, y'all need to watch out for Fred, because he beat me in Ostrava. And I was second guessing him already. I was like, oh, this Fred, he's just getting ready, probably working on his speed and everything like that for the 200. And then as we ran and I got to about 35 meters, I thought I was going to drop him off. And he was right there. Hips were underneath him, running tall, stepping strong. He looked like a real sprinter. So I think that if he gets through his transition very well and not sluggish, you're going to see that Fred of old. and he's going to be able to, because we already know what he can do top end speed wise. He's strong enough to hold his top end speed. Just that transition. He gets through that, I think we're going to see old Fred again.
You've mentioned that a couple times of like the transition from, phases, from one to another, like how many phases would you say like there are? And does it change when you're like a pro versus like, hey, the same amount of like phases in a sprint when you're a middle school kid just getting started as you are when you're a professional? Or how does that break down? And then how do you make it flow? Like, I mean, you mentioned Coleman does it really well. Like, how's that breakdown kind of look?
How many phases of the 100 are there?
Yeah.
So you have your start, you got your drive phase, you got your transition, you got the top end, and you got your finish. So about 5. I'll say 5. Mm-hmm. So you would look at that because you can look at, there's a lot of athletes out there who do really well in certain aspects of their phases. Sha'Carri's not that good at her start, right? But then she's able to put herself in a position through her drive phase, and she's able to work her transition very strong. Right? Then when she comes out of transition, she has the gift of already having good form, right? Naturally good form. So by that time, her top end is unmatched. She's just able to march down the field, march down the track, and just get down to that finish line and finish strong. So it's about having that. When you look at Coleman, great start, right? Great transition, great drive phase, great transition. And then he just lacks on his acceleration and his top end speed, right? His top end speed he's not holding it very well. So by the time he gets to 70, 75, it's like he's a downhill runner. So when you watch him, he's all this. So when he gets to that 75-meter mark, he's not up tall. He's still kind of just down here grinding away. And that's why you have guys like Noah, who has a really good finish, is able to catch him with that top end speed.
Which year did you take Coleman at Worlds? Was that 17?
That was 17. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that race has been a similar race that we've seen from him, like throughout his career. You kind of touched on it, like great start, great drive, great transition, a little bit of a struggling through that top end to the finish, right? And you also touched on Fred when you raced Fred in his transition. You spoke on his hips, like they were under him, and it looked like he was a proper sprinter. Now, my eye, I'm not a 100-meter sprinter, but my eye tells me like somewhere in that like 60 to 75 range for Coleman, it's like he's losing something, and it's like the shoulders get cocked. It's I can't put my finger on it, but you got the expertise.
Well, I mean, we've all ran to the point where we get tired, right? We rig up. And when you rig up, what happens? Shoulders go high, arms start to come. They don't get that full range of motion. And if your arms don't get that full range of motion, then your legs don't get that full range of motion. And you start to kind of tend to back kick a little bit. You know what I mean? So that's that motion that we see, right? If that's part of his natural gait and how he runs, then what's going to happen when you do fatigue? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're already there. You already have that form of what you look like if you fatigue. So it's hard for you to get out of that rhythm. But what works for him works for him. If you remember in 2019 and 18 and 2019, when he started to run those 9.7s, he had that same form, but he was just faster, stronger, more powerful. You watched him through his start and the transition, he was able just to pull away. By the time he got about 45 meters, he already had about 2 shoulders to 3 shoulder lengths on the field. You see what I'm saying? Is able to come up out of it. And he didn't have pressure at 75 meters because the field was still, and when he's at 75, the field was still at 60, 65 meters. He had such a deficit on us that he didn't have to worry about that pressure.
Mm-hmm. And like, he's been like his start killer. Like everyone talks about that. Like when you were lining up against him and you're seeing where he's got a shoulder length, like, oh, we are behind. Is it still, there's something in the head of like, hey, I know I'll be able to catch up. Like, I know that the last half of that race is, it may not be there. I'm not feeling nervous. Or is it still at any point in the race when you're behind, you still feeling nervous? You don't like to be behind. Like, what?
You always feel nervous. I don't care if you have the game plan or not. Even if you put the game plan in effect, you still going to come. And if you do pass him or catch him, you can be like, whew, that was a close one. Because you realize that in that moment, your body, your mind's telling you to run to his cadence because he's in front of you. So now you kind of throw all your plan out the window. And you say, just go for it, run. That's what we normally do. to have that patience to stay within your form and stay within your technique and kind of reel someone back in, it takes maturity, and it takes a veteran to be able to say, okay, I got real estate, I got time. Let's figure out how we can be able to reel them in about the 85-meter mark, And that's what you watch how Noah used to do that. Noah's starting to pick guys up at 65 now, but Noah was picking people off at 85 meters, right? So, but it showed a lot of poise and it showed a lot of maturity in him, because he could have easily rigged up at 75 meters and be like, I'm not going to get him. He stayed poised. He runs through the line. He understands how to be able to control his top end speed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For Coleman, real quick, Con, I'm gonna let you go, but he said something that's stuck on my head now. So Coleman, we've all known Coleman to have this like ridiculous start. It's all on like TikTok, all on Instagram Reels. Every time he goes to a meet, other coaches are filming his start. And he's like, oh, he's the best starter ever. Now, I was blessed to be able to work with Ralph Mann for a little bit on my start and stuff with his computer. He brings computer out, like body position should be like this. And he's got like thousands of records of thousands of hundreds of athletes, elite athletes.
Yeah.
And as good as Coleman is in his start, I think Justin actually has the best recorded 10-meter that Ralph ever did.
I do, yeah.
Interesting enough. So I just wanted to add that in there.
I do, yeah. I love working with Ralph, man. Shout out to Ralph, man. He's amazing. He is that secret jewel, that secret sauce that no one ever talks about, especially through these documentaries and interviews. Ralph, man, is able to break down the start and help elite sprinters kind of hone in on becoming better starters. He helped me out so much. And I love when he used to come to practice, because I'm like, oh, it's Ralph Mann Day. It's Ralph Mann Day. I gotta beat the stick figure, because it's a stick figure he uses on his monitor. And he sets it at let's just say at world record pace, or 9.7 pace, or 9.8 pace. And he does it for females as well. So to have that there, and usually in the sprints, everything is very ballistic and very, like boom, 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 right? And we think that's how it always should be. And we think that we should operate within that realm. But when you have someone like Ralph Mann, like he's able to slow everything down and say, look, you're behind the stick figure by a click. You're behind the stick figure by 2 clicks. And that really helps athletes understand how to be able to position their angles, how to be able to push away, how to be able to gain acceleration through that. One thing that Coleman does very well is he doesn't have to change his hip position, because once he comes from the blocks, that hip position is already at his position where he'll be in the transition. That's why his start, his drive phase, and his transition are so seamless, because he's already in that position where his hips should be. After that transition is where his hips need to change.
Nice. I know, Noah, you're heading out soon here, so hopefully we'll be able to get this. I wanted to talk about the 4x1 and what we got going on here for the Olympics. Your picks, Justin, on 4x1 for Team USA. Who do you think should be on it? What do you think the order should be going into the Olympics here?
I would say you have. And I changed it from when I did it on my show. I'm gonna change it to Coleman, to Fred, to Kenny, to Noah. I think that'll be a great quartet right there for sure.
Okay, that's the same that I had. Yeah, I had those 4. The one that I had concern on though was going back to the Olympics for 2021. I remember the handoff between Fred and I think Ronnie Baker was a little shaky, and we didn't make it out of the semis. There is there anything? I mean, now he's ran a couple more 100s, but he hasn't done many 4x1s. I don't think Fred. Fred did he was in, because he wasn't in 2022, right? He didn't do there. He didn't. Did he do 4x1 in 2023?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, with
2023
with Noah and Coleman them. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's done it once. You think that we can finally bring home the gold for USA? I guess first time since 2000? Will we finally be able to bring it out?
I think so. Yeah. 4x1 wise, yeah. It's theirs to take. I don't see Jamaica coming with a strong quartet. I mean, obviously you have Kishane, you have Oblique, you have Blake as well. Still a little questionable on who's that 4th person and where you would put that 4th person at, because now it's almost like you got to find that 4th person and you got to like kind of hide them within the quartet of exactly where you would put them at. When you have, that's hard. Where you gonna put them on third against Kenny? You know what I'm saying? Where you gonna put them down the backstretch against Fred? Or you gonna put them on anchor against Noah? Or you gonna put them on the start to get dusted by Coleman? That's a hard quartet to beat around the track, period. There's no weakness really. Everyone fits into their position very well, and it kind of caters to how their running style is.
You think they'll have Johan Blake still in that in the 4x4, the 4x1?
It's possible. It's very possible. Yeah. If I had to pick that position, I'll say oblique to Kishane, maybe Johan or Johan on anchor, or either put Johan on the backstretch and put Blake home, the other Blake home. So, yeah.
How?
I mean, they could do it just like this. They could do oblique, Johan Blake. They can put Andrew Hudson on the turn, and they put Blake coming home.
That sounds pretty good. And then you also, I mean, Canada, I mean, they've been running the same team since 2016, I feel. I mean, they had like that experience of just being able to run the same team for almost a decade now. Like, you're going to have that chemistry. And we've seen, like, you know, if you can, it's not just about the 4 fastest people. It's, who's got good, good chemistry there. I think that would be something that we could, that you always got to watch out for Team Canada.
Absolutely. You got to watch out for Team Canada, and you got to watch out for Team Great Britain. Those are the 2 people that you always going to have to watch out for, right? They bring synergy together. They work well together. They also realize if we practice a little more on this, we'll be seamless and we'll be able to get a better result. So that's how Canada has been very successful when it comes to 4x1. Also with Great Britain. I mean, if you look back, they beat us in 2004. They went out there in the World Championships and beat us in 2017. So they know how to get the job done. Their guys come together with confidence, believing in each other that we can get the job done together. That's going to be hard for Team USA because all 4 of those guys compete against each other at a very high level. So to be able to take that hat off competition and say, all right, put a hat on of teamwork, let's get this done, and hold each other accountable, it's usually hard to transition away from that.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm wondering if they'll get some more practices and everything. And I know there was the talk about how they didn't have as much time practicing together, in 2021. I think the world was also very different there, but it's like, how often are they going to do it? I mean, it's a good thing that's helpful for the women is that 3 of the 4 women in the 4x1 are in the same camp. So, there's not too much that they're going to have to do. They'll be there together. They see themselves together. So like the women, I think, won't have a problem. It's, you've got people that are, I think, Fred's still training in California or maybe moved to Texas. I'm not too sure. Then obviously you got Noah that's in Florida. So they're all over the place. So it's like, what's that going to look like? How often are you going to come together?
Well, I think that Team USA is taking the relay practice more serious because you realize that when we drop the baton, it makes world news. It's, I mean, not just track and field news. I mean, world news. CNN's talking about it, ABC's talking about it, NBC's talking about it, ESPN's talking about it. They're like, oh, Team USA has faltered again when it comes to the relay. So I told you that America has a lot of pride in our relay, putting together, because we're a team country. That's what we care about, teams, right? So I think Team USA is coming together and putting together better practices so we can be able to build that synergy better. And that's all we really need. We got the talent. We just need to be able to come together. And I know Dennis is going to have all 3 of those girls working around the clock. They're going to get their practice in individual runs, but they're going to, after practice, like every other practice, they're going to work on their relay exchanges. And that's going to be part of their top end speed workout anyway, too. So it all works hand in hand.
What was the relay camp like when you were on the team?
I've had good ones. I've had bad ones. I've had good ones where we like, man, we about to do some damage. And I had bad ones where we be like, we only practice a day and a half. What are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it depends on what the synergy is. And a lot of those athletes, like I said, they're top dogs. So it's going to be like, well, I need to focus on my race. I need to focus on make sure I get my gold medal or get on that podium. So they take time away from relays to focus on individual runs as well.
I've got I know we're going to start wrapping things up here. This is completely unrelated, Justin, but I've been needing to ask you this for the longest time. I love this video. It's from 2016, I think it was, when you ran the 945 with the fans blowing you back
That's
in the day.
That's
older.
2011, man. That's
2011.
crazy. Yeah.
How did that come to fruition? I remember seeing that video when I was in school, just like running with all these fans on your back. How does that even become a thing that you're going to end up doing?
Listen, man, it happens in Japan, one of the funnest countries in the world to be at, man. I mean, they come up with so many crazy game shows and thought processes. I love it. I have a little guilty pleasure of going to Japan and being a part of a lot of their like TV shows. I love it. I love it. I've been to Masked Racer. They have a segment called the Masked Racer where you race against comedians or youth athletes, and you give them a head start and you run them down, and then they have to guess who is under the mask, right? So, but the fan one was a one-of-one situation when it was like, we're going to try to break the world record. That's what Japan wanted to see. What was it going to take to break the world record? So I don't know where they got this swamp people fan boat from in Japan, but they got a whole fan boat. They turned it around, they put it in reverse, and they put my starting blocks right in front of the fan. And I mean, when I feel like I was getting pushed by like tropical storm winds, I was getting pushed by tropical storm winds. And they had all these little fans set up along the way as I ran this 100 meters to kind of keep pushing me down the track. So at first my first attempt, I actually tied Usain's record of like I went 9:58, right? And I was like, oh, I'm done. Cool. And then it was like, and Japanese are very polite people. They're like, could you please do it one more time? Right? We're trying to break the record. That's the reason why we're trying to do this. So went back in the blocks, did it, and ran 9:45. So they went crazy. They loved it. So it was a good accomplishment. And obviously it's the record of fastest run under any conditions or something like that. So
yeah. Were you on Pros versus Joes as well?
I did Pros versus Joes too, man. They need to bring that back. They need to do a 2.0 on a Pros versus Joes. I think it'd be cool right now.
Who do you think who would you have as the pro? If you couldn't pick yourself, who would you pick should be on Pros versus Joes for track and field?
Right, you got to have someone who's going to talk a lot of trash, man. So you got to put Noah on there. I'll put Noah for basketball. I'll put Anthony Edwards, talks a lot of trash. I'll put Angel Reese for basketball for the female side. Geez, who else would you pick? We had baseball.
Maybe like a Bryce Harper.
Yeah, put a little Bryce Harper in there. That's what it is. I mean, we back then, like I said, we weren't trash talkers, but we were gritty. You know what I mean? Like we'll whisper in your ear and talk some trash. Like now, this day and age, like these people talking trash. They going viral just off opening their mouth. So I think it'd be a great show to watch.
Oh yeah, ever since the world champion of what that once you said that, it was like that took it to another level, man.
Right?
Another level, 100%. Awesome. Well, thank you, Justin and Noah, for joining us for an episode of the Track World News podcast. You can catch Justin Gatlin's show, Ready, Set, Go. When are you guys dropping your next episode? Hopefully,
we usually drop on Thursdays. I think we're going to drop a nice one this week, maybe on Tuesday. It's actually with Asafa Powell. So it's going to be my one-on-one sitting down with Asafa Powell. We're going to be talking about our rivalry throughout our years and his races and his mindset and mine as well. So catch it. I think you'll love it. It's going to be a great time. Like I told him in the episode, we actually never talked that much at all. Throughout 20 years of knowing each other career-wise, we never talked that much. So we sat down, had a drink, just let it fly, let it loose, man. So check it out. Tuesday, definitely on Thursday, we're going to be recording. That's when we usually drop in. And thank you, man. Thank you for having me on the show. I'd love to come back anytime. Noah, safe flight, man. I know you're going to catch your flight soon too.
Love, man. Hey, but real quick, Justin, for myself, and I can speak for probably most American track athletes born from like 97 to like 2002. You were like the guy for us. Then you provided a lot of inspiration for us. And I still remember you getting a dub, and you know what I'm saying? And that was a special moment, a big moment in my childhood that helped me, through those mid 2010s. Like, yeah, I love this sport, so, big ups to you. And it was dope to be able to have this conversation with you, man. I really, really greatly appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. I just want everybody to know, man, just believe in yourself, man. Just believe in yourself. You're doing this for a reason. You did it as a child. You love what you did. You had passion. You went on to kind of see exactly how far you can take it. Don't forget that. This is why you're here. This is why you love track and field. And we have great talks on platforms just like this. So always come back and watch us. We want to be able to see what you can do.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a good one. Peace.